Hi BookTube, and welcome to a new video. This is a tag video. This is the Springathon Scavenger Hunt tag, and I wasn't tagged, but I watched Brian over at Bookish do it and really liked it. Even though, like him, I don't read nature books, and I didn't participate in Springathon this year or any year, but I'm one of those sort of curious urbanites who would fight tooth and nail for any sort of ecological and environmental issue, but just don't ask me to take a walk in the countryside. I couldn't camp, for example. I used to get very, very bad hay fever. These are all feeble excuses, I know. I have written several ecological based flash fiction stories about extinction events for certain species and stuff, and I've written several stories about certain species such as vultures and tarantulas and stuff. So I suppose I sort of have a slight intellectual relationship with nature rather than getting my hands dirty with it. I think this was originated by Heidi from My Reading Life. I know she definitely tagged Brian, so I'll post the links to both of their videos. Okay, prompts, and this is a scavenger hunt, so one has the option of sort of filming one, sort of chasing around your bookshelves, looking at books in vain, trying to meet the prompts. Because now unfortunately my bookshelves are split between outside in the garden shed and inside, unfortunately I can't really do scavenger hunts anymore in that manner, so I've pre-pulled all these books, obviously. So, one, book about the weather. Well, appropriate enough perhaps, Jenny Ophil's book called Weather, which is about a librarian who's filled with dread and anxiety about the oncoming climate crisis, written in quite sort of epigrammatic style. But also slightly less root one, The High House by Jessie Greengrass, which is about the oncoming global floods as rising sea levels, and one family's attempt to prepare in advance to be sort of stave off the lethal effects of that. And another one, slightly off a tangent. This is The Early King and the Kid in Yellow by Irish writer Danny Denton, and it's set in a near future Ireland which has become it rains all the time. There's no let up from the rain, and everything is saturated, and society has sort of rather fallen to pieces, and sort of gangsters sort of rule the roost because they can still get things done, unlike government and stuff. It's a really good book, and I'm really surprised that more people haven't read this. It's a 5-star read for me. Prompt 2, bees or butterflies on the cover. Okay, I'm going to suggest my own book here. This is Time After Time, a time-travelling science fiction alternate sort of parallel universe concept, based very much on the Terminator movies, in the flaw in those movies as to if the future is so oppressive that you need to send someone back to the past to kill the person whose ideas bring about that oppressive future. If you're successful, therefore there won't be a future from which you need to send back an assassin. So this is the fundamental paradox of time travel, and I have great fun with that paradox in this novel. It's Kindle only, and it's probably the cover of all the covers I've had done for my books that I'm the most pleased with. And you can see the butterfly, and indeed the book, one of its twin structures, one is Schrodinger's cat, and the other is the butterfly effect, and butterflies are a repeated motif within the book. 3, book about your home or homes in general. I've got a couple for this. Mark Danielewski's House of Leaves, because at the core of this book is an ever-shifting house which sort of seems to sort of, like the TARDIS in Doctor Who, is bigger on the inside than on the outside, and all these sort of strange passages that suddenly appear and other passages get blocked off and stuff. But it's a book about so much more than that. It's a very psychological book, and about sort of schizophrenia and things as well. Terrific. And the other is more the contents of a house, which I read recently in a buddy read with Zena over at Beating About the Books. This is Leanne Shapton's Important Artefacts and Personal Property from the collection of Leonora Doolan and Harold Morris, including books, street fashion and jewellery. So this is all the knickknacks and trinkets and clothes and records and books from a supposed couple who get together and then split apart, and you know, all the things they built up in their domestic house, the presents and the gifts and the knickknacks and the decor and stuff. Wonderful, wonderfully subversive book, that. 4, a book about dirt or soil. So I've gone for At Night All Blood is Black by David Diop, which is on the shortlist for the Booker International. It's set in the First World War amongst the trenches, and deals with a Senegalese rifleman, and you know, as a colony of France at the time, they served with the French army. And this guy sort of he's almost like a serial killer or a hunter or a predator, and he goes between the trenches at night to basically snatch a victim from the German trenches as an act of vengeance for his pal who was killed during the battle. And the descriptions of the mud and how he sort of covers himself in mud as camouflage and stuff, just brilliantly evocative. So yeah, that's Mud, which I think definitely counts as both soil and dirt. Water on the cover. I'm not sure how clearly this will show up. This is called The Dolphin House by Richard O'Brien. It's a collection of poetry about a CIA experiment to try and teach dolphins human language that happened in the 50s or 60s, where basically a woman went to live with a dolphin in a sort of giant tank to try and teach him and stuff. It's not actually it's a brilliant premise, but it's not actually a very good collection. But indubitably, the water of the dolphin's tank is on the cover. 6, a bird on the cover. Well, I've got a couple. Parakeet by Marie-Helene Bertino, which was one of Matthew Sciarappa's favourite books of the year last year. It may even have been his favourite, I can't remember now in the end. And it is good. I wasn't quite as smitten with it as he was. But there's a Parakeet. And Barn 8 by Deb Olin Unferth, and this is a book about, funny enough, dealing with what we were saying at the beginning of the video, a sort of an ecological action of freeing a whole barn full of battery chickens, and it's very funny. So yeah, there's a chicken on the front cover. 7, Footprint on the cover. Well, I thought, like Brian, I'd really struggle with this, and then lo and behold, I'm walking past my room and I see that a book I'm currently reading has footprints. The Flanders Road by Claude Simon. This is about the Second World War. Is it about the Second World War? No, it's about the First World War, sorry. No, it is the Second World War. I haven't got very far into this book. But lo and behold, there are the blood-stained footsteps. 8, book about travel or migration. Well, The Lost Children Archive by Valeria Louisset fulfills both of those prompts, because it is about travel, because it's a road trip, family taken from New York to Arizona, and it's also about migration, because it's about the vanished Apache Indians that one of the parents is doing a project on, and it's also about the undocumented children who get across the border and disappear because, you know, they're not met at the other side and in the middle of the desert, and they just perish. So, and it does talk about that train, that sort of, you know, monster train that travels through Central America, and lots of people sort of, you know, jump on top of it and sit on it. You know, very, very dangerous journey in their drive to get to the American border. 9, an author with nature in their surname. Well, the aforementioned Jessie Greengrass, Greengrass. But if that doesn't appease you, Roya Marsh. This is a poetry collection called Daylight, 5 stars, fantastic collection. But obviously Marsh is a natural feature. And 10, Prehistoric element on the cover. I'm not sure how well you're going to see this. This is a poetry collection by Clayton Eshelman called Fracture. And there is some cave art, prehistoric cave art on the cover. I hope you can see that, because this collection is inspired by Eshelman getting into one of the set of caves that has prehistoric art, and this whole collection is based around that, where he covers the sort of whole of time and creation and creativity inspired by this, because in order for him to access the cave art, he had to go through a very, very small opening, which he described as being like a rebirth, or going through the birth canal and then coming across this art. So I really enjoyed this collection. It's slightly 60s-ish in its sort of gendering, but for all that it's still a very, very good collection. So there you have it. Thanks to Brian and thanks to Heidi for a really sort of inspiring tag. Till next time.